who took turns visiting the house was one of the few things Kit vividly remembered from the days after Micah died. Robert didn't want to participate. She hadn't blamed him. Not for that, anyway. But when she'd felt so disconnected from her life, so disembodied with grief, chewing the bread and swallowing the juice was a tactile way to practice faith when she felt as if she didn't have any faith to practice. Jamie said, "And what about tomorrow? Are you heading to Sarah's?" "We'll play that by ear, see how Wren's feeling." Kit had already prepared her daughter for the possibility of not joining the family for their celebration. "The girls will be so disappointed," Sarah had said, with a tone that communicated her own. But it couldn't be helped. Leaving Wren alone for an extended period simply wasn't safe. "I can never thank you enough for all you've done, Kit, for all you're doing. I know I keep saying that, but I don't know what else to say. I'm glad to be able to do it." Kit paused on the bottom stair landing and peered through the beveled glass on the front door. The cul-de-sac was quiet. "I hope you and Dylan and the kids can have a wonderful celebration together, even with all this." "I'm trying," Jamie said. "I know you are. You're doing so well." "Some days are better than others," Jamie sighed. "I've got to go get costumes ready for the nativity play. Joseph has the stomach flu, and none of the other boys is willing to play the role, so Phoebe has agreed to give up being a sheep and step in. Olivia is painting on a mascara beard and mustache as we speak." Kit laughed. "Take pictures, lots of them, and I'll ask Wren to call you later if she's up to it." As she waited for Hannah to arrive, Kit debated whether she should try to wrap the 2 Vincent van Gogh prints she'd purchased for Wren, Starry Night and Olive Trees. Opening wrapping paper might require too much effort, or stir painful memories of other Christmas celebrations. Maybe it was best simply to give her the prints without making note of them being Christmas gifts. She sat on the sofa, the prints side by side on her lap, and thought about the many conversations she and Wren had shared about Vincent's life and faith, about how some of his work evoked images of Jesus wrestling in Gethsemane, and how they hoped to partner together in creating content and art for the journey to the cross at New Hope. But that was before Casey died. Given Wren's current state of mind, it was unlikely she would be able to meditate on the scriptures, let alone paint a prayerful response to them in time for Holy Week. And as far as weaving her own story into the New Hope reflections, as Kit had told Wren she would consider doing, the more she thought about it, the more she realized that wasn't the right context. People who came to New Hope for the journey to the cross came to pray with the word and the art, not to read someone's personal narrative. Still, Wren had bravely asked her to share her story. And though no words of wisdom or consolation, no words about the loss of her son or her own journey with depression could mitigate Wren's suffering in these early days of her anguish, perhaps there was another way to offer Wren what she'd asked for. If she told her story in small doses, wrapping bits of personal narrative around the journey to the cross scripture texts, then Wren could read it when she was well enough to process it, and return to it whenever she needed to be reminded that she was not alone. "Companions in misfortune," Wren often said, quoting Vincent. As much as she loved reading his letters to his brother, maybe she would appreciate reading letters written to her. Kit glanced over her shoulder at headlights in the driveway and set the prints aside. Considering the ways Wren's journey had already tapped her own subterranean sorrow, she suspected that by saying yes to writing letters, she might be saying yes to much more. With the cross casting its shadow on the manger, tonight was as good a time as any to begin. Christmas Eve. My dear Wren, tonight I watched your pastor offer you a bit of bread